You ever think we missed our chance? Miles said it like a joke, but his eyes stayed on the road too long after. That was the first moment I knew this trip was going to be a problem. Not a cute problem. Not a funny childhood best friends finally hanging out again problem. A real one. The kind that sits in your chest and waits for you to make one wrong move. We were barely 20 miles outside Columbus, my iced coffee already sweating in the cup holder, his old Ford making that annoying rattle every time we hit 70, and Miles Carter was acting like the drive to Colorado was just another dumb idea we'd laugh about later. Maybe it should have been. We'd done stupid road trips before. Back in high school, we once drove 2 hours for pancakes because Miles saw a TikTok and decided life was too short for local syrup. That was Miles. Big ideas. Bad timing. Too much confidence for someone who forgot his wallet at least twice a week. And me? I was Evan Miller, the guy who always went along with it. Because I always went along with Miles. That had been true since we were 8 years old, and he showed up in my backyard holding a cracked baseball glove, asking if I knew how to throw. I didn't. He taught me wrong anyway. 25 now, and somehow he still had that same effect on me. Like my whole body remembered him before my brain could catch up. Missed our chance at what? I kept my voice casual. Too casual. Miles glanced over, one hand loose on the steering wheel, sunlight cutting across his face in quick flashes between highway signs. I don't know. Being young and reckless. I snorted. You booked one motel room at midnight and packed beef jerky as a food group. You're still reckless. That made him laugh. Low. Familiar. Annoying in the way it hit somewhere behind my ribs. Fair. He reached into the back seat without looking and grabbed his gray hoodie, then dropped it in my lap. Here. You always get cold when I blast the AC. I stared down at it for half a second too long. It was just a hoodie. Miles had given me hoodies before. In middle school. At football games. On nights when we slept over and one of us forgot pajamas. Normal stuff. Best friend stuff. That was what I told myself while my fingers curled into the soft fabric like an idiot. I'm not cold. You're literally doing that thing where you pretend not to shiver. I don't have a thing. Evan. He didn't even look at me this time. Just smiled like he knew me too well. And that was the problem. He did. He knew my coffee order, my fake laugh, the songs I skipped when I was in a bad mood. He knew everything except the one thing I'd spent years burying so deep I almost convinced myself it was gone. Almost. I pulled the hoodie over my lap instead of putting it on. Safe distance. Safe choice. Miles turned up the radio when an old song came on, one we used to play in his mom's driveway after school. For a few minutes, we sang the wrong words and acted like nothing was strange. Like we weren't two grown men driving across the country alone. Like he hadn't asked that question. Like his hoodie didn't smell like cedar soap and mint gum. Then traffic slowed near a construction zone, and the car went quiet. Miles tapped his thumb against the wheel. Once. Twice. Feels weird, doesn't it? My stomach tightened. What does? He looked over at me then. Really looked. Not a quick glance. Not a joke. Just Miles, with that softer expression he only got when he was about to say something honest, and then regret it. Just us again. I should have laughed. I should have said something stupid. Instead, I looked out the window and told myself it meant nothing. But the worst part was, for the first time in years, I didn't believe me. I hated how fast one sentence could drag you backward. Just us again. Miles said it like the drive had only reminded him of old times, but my brain did the thing it always did with him. It took one normal sentence, turned it over too many times, and found a bruise underneath. I leaned my head against the window and watched the highway blur past, pretending I was only tired. The truth was, I remembered too much. I remembered us at 12, racing bikes down Maple Street until his mom yelled from the porch. I remembered sleeping on his living room floor during thunderstorms because he claimed he was not scared, then kicked me in the ribs every time the thunder cracked. I remembered 17, when everything got worse for no reason I could explain out loud. Miles had grown into his shoulders that summer. His hair got longer. His laugh got lower. Girls started looking at him differently, and I started looking away faster. That was the year our stupid backup plan began. We were sitting on the roof outside his bedroom window, sharing a warm soda because we were broke and dramatic, when he bumped his shoulder into mine. If we are both single at 30, we should just get married. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the can. You would be a terrible husband. Please. I would pack your lunch and kill spiders. You scream when bees fly near you. Bees are different. Bees have intentions. It became a joke after that. A running bit. His mom would ask if either of us had dates to homecoming, and Miles would throw an arm around me and go, "Relax, Mrs. Miller. Evan is my backup husband." Everybody laughed. I laughed too. Because what else was I supposed to do? Tell him my stomach flipped every time he said it? Tell him I started counting how long his arms stayed around my shoulders? Tell him that sometimes, when he called me bro, I felt relieved and disappointed at the exact same time? No. I did what any emotionally healthy idiot would do. I buried it. I got good at it. Then Miles started dating Kelsey junior year, and I buried it deeper. In the car, his fingers drummed along to the radio. Same rhythm he used on cafeteria tables, steering wheels, my bedroom desk, when he was waiting for me to finish homework. "You are quiet again." I glanced over. "I am enjoying the view." He looked at the flat stretch of Ohio highway, the gas stations, the semi-trucks, the giant billboard for discount fireworks. "Wow. Beautiful country. Very moving." His mouth twitched. Then he reached for my coffee, took a sip without asking, made a face, and handed it back. "Still disgusting." "Then stop drinking it. I have to check if your taste has improved." Our fingers brushed around the cup. Barely anything. A stupid accidental touch. But his hand stayed there for half a second longer than it needed to. Or maybe mine did. I could not tell anymore. The car got quiet again, but this time Miles did not rush to fill it. He just kept his eyes forward, thumb resting close to mine near the cup holder. Too close. Not touching. Worse. "Remember the pact?" The words came out of nowhere, soft under the music. My chest tightened so quickly I almost missed my breath. What pact? I knew exactly which one. Miles glanced over, and there was that look again. The one that made jokes feel unsafe. "Come on, Evan. If we are both single at 30. I forced a laugh. It sounded almost normal. "Yeah, your backup husband plan. You make it sound stupid." It was stupid. Was it? He asked it lightly. That was the dangerous part. His voice had a smile in it, but his eyes did not. I stared at him for 1 second too long, and something in my throat went dry. "Miles." "What?" "Do not make it weird." He looked back at the road, but the corner of his mouth faded. For a moment, all I heard was the tires humming beneath us. Then he said, almost too quiet, "Maybe that was the only smart thing we ever said." I laughed because I had to. Because if I did not, I might ask what he meant. And if I asked what he meant, the whole road trip could crack open before we even crossed the state line. By the time we hit Indiana, I had convinced myself Miles was just bored. That was easier. Miles got weird on long drives. He turned gas stations into snack debates, ranked rest stop bathrooms like a travel critic, and once spent 40 minutes arguing that red licorice was not real licorice, but still deserved respect. So maybe the pact comment meant nothing. Maybe the look meant nothing. Maybe I was doing what I always did with him, taking a normal moment and giving it teeth. Then we stopped at a diner outside Terre Haute, and the universe immediately decided to embarrass me. It was one of those places with cracked red booths, chrome napkin holders, and pie spinning in a glass case like it had been there since 1998. Miles slid into the booth across from me, then immediately frowned. "You are going to sit over there?" I looked around. That is how booths work. Feels hostile. "You want me to sit next to you in an empty diner?" He shrugged, like that was a normal request. "You used to." That shut me up for half a second. The waitress appeared before I could answer, coffee pot in hand, smile tired but kind. "Long drive." Miles leaned back. "Colorado. Wedding. Ah, cute. You two make a good couple." My entire body went still. Not my face. I hope not my face. But inside, everything stopped moving. I opened my mouth to correct her, because that was the normal thing to do. The safe thing. The thing friends did when strangers got it wrong. Miles beat me to it by not correcting her at all. He just smiled down at the menu, like he was trying not to enjoy my panic. "Thanks." He is high maintenance, but I manage. The waitress laughed and walked off. I stared at him. "Seriously? What?" "You just let her think we are together." Miles picked up a sugar packet and rolled it between his fingers. "She also thinks the soup of the day is homemade." People can be wrong. "Miles." He finally looked up, and there it was again, that quiet thing behind his eyes, like he was standing closer than the table allowed. "Does it bother you that much?" My throat went dry. The answer should have been easy. Yes, because it was awkward. No, because who cared? Something normal. Instead, all I could think about was how he had said thanks. How he did not flinch. How, For one stupid second, it felt good. It is just weird. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Miles nodded once slow. Right. He looked down at the menu. The joke was gone. That was worse than the joke. I wanted him to grin, nudge my foot under the table, call me dramatic. Instead, he got quiet in a way that made my chest ache. I almost apologized, which made no sense because I had not done anything wrong. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Paige. Send proof you two have not killed each other yet. I snapped a picture before thinking. Miles across the booth, his hair a little messy, one hand wrapped around a mug of coffee, eyes lifting right when I took it. The photo came out too good. Annoyingly good. Paige replied 10 seconds later. You look married. I locked my phone so fast Miles noticed. What? Nothing. That was not a nothing face. Paige being annoying. His expression softened. She still thinks we are secretly in love? My stomach dropped. I hated that he remembered that. Paige had said it once at a barbecue when we were 19, loud enough to make me choke on lemonade. Miles had laughed then. I had not. She thinks everything is a romantic comedy. Maybe she is range. Do not encourage her. The waitress came back with coffee, and I reached for the creamer at the same time Miles did. Our hands bumped. Not brushed. Bumped. Warm fingers over mine, solid and familiar, and neither of us moved. The little plastic creamer sat trapped between us like it mattered. Miles looked at our hands first, then at me. The diner noise faded in a way that felt fake, like my brain had turned down the world just to punish me. Evan, he said softly. I pulled back too fast, knocking the creamer onto its side. Sorry. Hey. His voice dropped lower. It is okay. But it did not feel okay. Because he had not laughed. He had not made a joke. He had looked at me like the answer to something was sitting right there between our hands. And for the first time on that trip, I could not convince myself I had imagined it. We drove another 4 hours after the diner, and neither of us brought it up. Not the waitress. Not Paige's text. Not the way Miles had said my name like he was trying to hold on to it. He just kept driving, one hand on the wheel, the other resting near the cup holder, close enough that I noticed every time his fingers shifted. I hated that. I hated that my whole body had turned into some kind of Miles radar. Around 9, the rain started. Light at first, then heavy enough that the highway blurred into red brake lights and silver streaks. Miles leaned forward slightly, squinting through the windshield. We should stop soon. I checked my phone. There is a motel 6 miles ahead. Only 6. Do not sound disappointed. He shot me a quick look, tired smile and all. I was hoping for a haunted one. Of course you were. The motel looked exactly like every road motel in America. Beige walls. Flickering sign. A vending machine humming like it had secrets. Miles parked near the office while I ran in, hood up, shoes splashing through puddles. The guy at the desk barely looked awake. 1 room left. I nodded, pulling out my card. That is fine. 1 queen. My hand froze over the reader. Of course. Because apparently the entire universe had decided Subtle was dead. No double. Booked. He slid the key card across the counter like he had no idea he had just ruined my blood pressure. When I got back to the car, Miles was watching the rain run down the windshield. Bad news. I opened the door and climbed in, soaked at the edges of my sleeves. 1 room. Okay. 1 bed. Miles blinked once. Then his mouth curved. Wow. Paige is going to lose her mind. Not funny. A little funny. I can sleep on the floor. The smile disappeared so fast I almost wished I had not said it. Miles turned in his seat, rain tapping hard above us. Why would you do that? Because it is not a big deal. Exactly. It is not a big deal. His voice was calm, but something underneath it tightened. We have shared beds before. We were kids. We were us. That landed in the space between us and stayed there. I looked away first. Inside the room, everything smelled like old carpet and lemon cleaner. There was 1 lamp, 1 bed, 1 tiny table, and way too much silence. Miles tossed his bag near the wall and peeled off his wet jacket. I busied myself with absolutely nothing, checking the lock twice, plugging in my phone, pretending the air did not feel charged. Evan. I turned. Miles stood by the bed, hair damp from the rain, expression unreadable. Are you really that uncomfortable with me? My stomach dropped. No, then what is it? There it was. Too direct. Too quiet. No joke to hide behind. I rubbed a hand over my face. I just do not want things to get weird. Miles let out a breath that was almost a laugh, but not happy. You keep saying that like they are not already. I looked at him then. Really looked. The room went still around us. Rain against the window. My pulse in my ears. Miles took one step closer, slow enough that I could have stopped him. I did not. Tell me to back off, he murmured. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. He was close now. Not touching. Just close enough that I could see the rain still caught in his eyelashes. Close enough to feel the warmth of him in the cold motel room. His eyes dropped for 1 second. Maybe to my mouth. Maybe I imagined it. I wanted to imagine it. I did not. Then my phone buzzed on the table, so loud we both flinched. Paige. Again. Did you two find a room yet, or are you sleeping in the car like idiots? Miles stepped back first. The air rushed in between us. I grabbed my phone like it had saved me, even though every part of me hated it for ringing. Miles looked toward the window, jaw tight, and gave a small nod to no one. I am going to shower. The bathroom door closed softly behind him. Not slammed. That would have been easier. I sat on the edge of the only bed, Paige's message glowing in my hand, and realized my heart was pounding like something had almost happened. Worse, I realized I was not scared because it almost happened. I was scared because I wanted it to. By morning, the motel room looked harmless. Too harmless. Pale light through the curtains. Both of our bags half open on the floor, Miles's damp jacket hanging over a chair, my phone charger stretched across the carpet like a tripwire. Nothing had happened. Technically, Miles slept on the far side of the bed like distance could fix whatever almost broke between us. I barely slept at all. Every time he shifted, my whole body noticed. Every time the rain hit harder, I remembered how close he had been. Tell me to back off. I still had not. We left before 8 with gas station coffee and microwaved breakfast sandwiches that tasted like cardboard and regret. Miles acted normal. Not too normal. That would have been easier to hate. He held the door for me. Tossed me the keys when I looked more awake than him. Complained about the coffee being legally offensive. But he did not bring up the room. Neither did I. By noon, we reached Colorado, and my phone started exploding with messages from the wedding group chat. The rehearsal dinner was that night. Everyone was already at the hotel. Paige had somehow become the unofficial commentator despite not even being invited. Did you survive husband road trip day 1? I stared at the message too long. Miles noticed because of course he did. Paige. I locked the screen. She needs hobbies. She has one. Harassing us. I should have laughed normally. Instead, I made some weird sound that barely counted. Miles's eyes flicked toward me, then back to the road. He looked like he wanted to say something. He did not. The hotel parking lot was packed when we got there. Old friends from high school were unloading garment bags, coolers, cases of beer. The second I stepped out of the car, someone yelled my name. Evan Miller, alive and pale as ever. I turned just in time for Grant Wallace to pull me into one of those aggressive straight guy hugs that almost dislocated a shoulder. Grant had been on our soccer team back in school. Loud, friendly, unable to read a room unless the room punched him. And Miles Carter. Grant grinned over my shoulder. Still attached to this guy, huh? Miles came around the car with our bags, expression easy. Someone has to keep him from ordering coffee milkshakes at every stop. That is called being married. Grant pointed between us, laughing. I am telling you, man, if you two showed up holding hands, nobody from our grade would even be surprised. My chest tightened so fast it hurt. I reached for my duffel. Great. We have been here 12 seconds. Miles smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Good to see you too, Grant. No, seriously. Grant lowered his voice like that made it less public. It did not. Remember senior year? Everybody thought something was going on. I froze with my hand on the strap. Miles went still too. Just for a second. Small enough no one else would catch it. Big enough that I did. Everybody thought a lot of dumb stuff senior year. I managed. Grant laughed, already bored of the damage he had done. True. Anyway, rehearsal dinner at 6. Try not to ditch like you used to. He jogged off toward the lobby, yelling at someone else. I stood there, heat crawling up my neck. Miles adjusted the bag on his shoulder. His face had gone quieter. Not angry. Not embarrassed exactly. More like someone had pushed on an old bruise. Miles. He looked at me, and for one stupid second I thought he might say it. Whatever it was. The thing from last night. The thing under all the jokes. Then the lobby doors opened again, and Lauren stepped out with the bride's cousin and a clipboard in her hand. Pretty, confident, perfect rehearsal dinner energy. Her face lit up when she saw Miles. There you are. I was told you were single and useful. Miles blinked, caught off guard. That sounds dangerous. She laughed and touched his arm like they already knew each other. Come help me carry centerpieces before the bride has a meltdown. I told myself I had no right to feel anything. Miles was allowed to talk to people. Miles was allowed to smile at a girl. Miles was allowed to be normal in public, especially after Grant had nearly dragged our entire history into the parking lot. But when he glanced back at me, I looked away first. Coward. Go, I muttered. I will check us in. He hesitated. Evan. It is fine. The words came out too sharp. His jaw tightened, just a little. Lauren was still waiting, smiling like she had no idea she had walked into the middle of something unfinished. Miles gave me one last look, the kind that asked a question I was too scared to answer, then followed her inside. I stood beside the car with both bags at my feet and Paige's message buzzing again in my pocket. This time, I did not check it. I already knew the joke. The problem was, it was starting to feel less like a joke every time someone else said it out loud. The rehearsal dinner should have been easy. Show up, smile, eat dry chicken, laugh at old stories, survive 3 hours, leave. That was the plan. Instead, I spent most of it watching Miles from across the room like a complete idiot. He was helping Lauren set little glass candles on the tables, sleeves rolled up, hair still slightly messy from the drive. Every few minutes she leaned close to say something, and every few minutes he smiled politely. Not flirty. Not really. Still, my chest kept doing that stupid tight thing, like my body had not gotten the memo that I had no claim here. Grant dropped into the chair beside me with a plate full of bread rolls. You look like someone stole your dog. I grabbed my water. I am tired. Sure. He followed my line of sight, then grinned. Oh, got it. Do not. I did not say anything. You are about to. Grant held up both hands, still chewing. All I am saying is, Carter has been looking over here every 30 seconds, and you have been pretending not to notice. Very subtle. Amazing work. My stomach dipped. I looked down at my napkin. We are friends. Yeah, man. I have friends. I do not look at them like my house is on fire. Before I could answer, someone called Grant's name, and he got pulled into a toast situation near the bar. I stayed seated, trying to act normal, which is hard when your entire chest feels like it has been wired wrong. Across the room, Miles looked over again. This time I did not look away fast enough. His face changed. Just a little. Like he had caught me hurting and hated it. A few minutes later, I escaped outside to the back patio. The hotel had one of those fake fire pits, blue flames behind glass, surrounded by metal chairs that were too cold to sit in. I stood near the railing and let the night air hit my face. Colorado smelled different. Drier. Cleaner. Like I could maybe breathe if I tried hard enough. The door opened behind me. I knew it was Miles before he spoke. I always did. You disappeared. I kept my eyes on the parking lot. Needed air. His footsteps stopped beside me, close but not too close. You have needed a lot of air today. I laughed once, quiet and useless. Long drive. Do not do that. That made me look at him. Miles was not smiling. His hands were in his pockets, shoulders tense under his jacket. The patio light caught the side of his face, and for a second he looked younger. Like the boy on the roof with a warm soda and a stupid marriage pact. Do what? His jaw worked like he was trying to decide whether to say it. Then he exhaled. Act like I do not know you. The words hit harder than they should have. I looked away. I am not acting. Yes, you are. His voice stayed low, careful. Not angry. Worse. Honest. You did it in the parking lot. You did it when Lauren asked me to help. You did it at dinner every time I looked at you. My pulse kicked. What do you want me to say? Miles stepped a little closer. Something real. There it was again. The edge. The place we kept walking up to and backing away from. My fingers tightened around the railing. You were busy. With centerpieces, Evan. She likes you. I do not care. Too fast. Too sharp. We both went quiet after that. Miles looked almost surprised by himself. I turned toward him slowly. You do not. He rubbed a hand over the back of his neck, eyes dropping to the ground. For once, he looked completely out of moves. No joke. No easy grin. No escape route. No, my chest tightened. Then why did you go with her? He looked up, and his eyes were tired in a way I had never seen. Because Grant made that comment, and you looked like you wanted to disappear. Then Lauren walked up, and I thought maybe giving you space was the right thing. A small, humorless laugh slipped out of him. Turns out I hated that too. I could barely breathe. The fire pit made a soft clicking sound beside us. Inside, People laughed through the glass door like the world was still normal. Miles. He shook his head, looking at me like he had been holding this in for miles and miles. Last night did not feel weird to me. My whole body went still. It should have, he continued, quieter now. The room, the bed, how close we got. I kept waiting for myself to want things to go back to normal. His eyes held mine. I did not. The words landed between us, warm and terrifying. I wanted to say something. I wanted to say everything. But the door swung open behind us, and the bride's brother stuck his head out. There you are. They need you both for pictures. Miles closed his eyes for half a second, like the timing physically hurt. Then he nodded. Yeah, coming. We did not move right away. His hand brushed mine near the railing, soft and accidental and not accidental at all. This time, neither of us pulled away quickly. Not until voices got closer inside. And when we finally walked back in, shoulder to shoulder, I knew the truth. I was not the only one trying not to fall apart. Pictures were a disaster. Not because anything happened, because nothing happened, and somehow that was worse. Miles and I stood next to each other near the end of the group, close enough that our shoulders almost touched, far enough that I could feel the space like a bruise. Every time the photographer told everyone to squeeze in, Miles shifted closer, then stopped himself. I did the same thing. Two grown men acting like a half-inch of air could save a friendship we had already been quietly wrecking for years. Everybody smile, the photographer called. Grant leaned in from my other side. You two look like you are in a hostage photo. Shut up. My smile probably looked painful. Miles gave a short laugh, but when I glanced at him, he was not looking at the camera. He was looking at me. Soft. Careful. Like the patio was still between us. Like his words were still hanging there. I did not want things to go back to normal. My chest tightened so hard I almost forgot to smile. After pictures, the night blurred into speeches, music, hotel carpet, and too many people asking the same three questions. Where are you living now? Are you seeing anyone? Remember when we were young and stupid? I gave safe answers. Miles did too. But something had shifted. I could feel it in every almost touch. His hand at my back when someone passed behind me. His knee brushing mine under the table, then staying there 1 second too long. The way he kept checking my face like he was scared I would disappear again. And maybe I was. Because the more real it felt, the more terrified I got. Near the end of the night, I found him in the hallway outside the ballroom, talking to Lauren. She was laughing, one hand pressed to her chest, and Miles was smiling. It should not have hurt. It was nothing. A conversation. A normal one. But then Lauren touched his sleeve again and said something I could not hear, and Miles looked down, almost shy. My stomach dropped. Maybe I had heard what I wanted to hear on the patio. Maybe he meant he did not want things normal because he was confused, not because he wanted me. Maybe I was about to ruin 20 years of friendship over a few charged moments and one motel room with bad lighting. I stepped back before he saw me. Coward move. Classic Evan. I made it all the way to the elevator before Miles caught up. Hey. His voice was low, but it still stopped me. I turned around with my thumb already hovering over the button. I am tired. Miles slowed a few feet away. His smile faded when he saw my face. What happened? Nothing. That word is starting to make me insane. I laughed, but it came out flat. Then stop asking. He looked hurt. Not dramatic. Just enough to make me hate myself. Okay. The elevator dinged behind me. Doors opened. Empty. Waiting. A perfect escape. I did not move. Miles rubbed both hands over his face, then let them fall. I am trying here. Trying what? The question came out sharper than I meant. His eyes searched mine. To not scare you off. That should have softened me. It almost did. But fear was faster. Fear had years of practice. You do not have to manage me. That is not what I am doing. Then what are you doing, Miles? The hallway went quiet around us. Somewhere down the corridor, people laughed near the ice machine. Miles glanced toward the sound, then back at me. His voice dropped. I do not know. And there it was. The thing I was afraid of. Not a yes. Not a no. Just confusion. My throat tightened. Right. Evan. No, it is fine. I stepped into the elevator because standing there another second felt dangerous. It makes sense. This is weird. We are tired. Road trips make people stupid. His face changed. That is not what I meant. Then say what you mean. I hated how badly my voice shook. Miles opened his mouth. Closed it. For once, he had nothing ready. No joke. No brave line. Just silence. The doors started to close. He reached out and stopped them with his hand. For 1 second, I thought he would step in. I wanted him to. I hated that I wanted him to. Instead, he stood there, jaw tight, eyes full of something he still could not say. I am scared, he finally admitted. So quiet I almost missed it. My chest cracked a little. Of me. His hand dropped from the door. Of losing you. The elevator doors slid shut between us before I could answer. I stood there alone, going up 3 floors, staring at my reflection in the metal wall. My heart was pounding. My eyes burned. And the worst part was, I finally understood. He was not pulling away because he felt nothing. He was pulling away because maybe he felt too much, and neither of us knew how to survive that yet. The elevator reached the 3rd floor, opened, and I still did not move. I stood there like an idiot, staring at the hallway carpet, hearing Miles's voice in my head. I am scared. Of losing you. That should have made things clearer. Somehow it made everything worse. Because I was scared too. I had been scared since we were 17, since I started looking away from him in swimming pools and sleepovers, and every normal moment that stopped feeling normal. I walked to our room, swiped the key card wrong twice, then sat on the edge of the bed with my shoes still on. The same bed from the night before would have been easier to blame. But this room had 2 doubles. Plenty of space. No excuse. My phone buzzed. Paige, did you make it through dinner, or did Miles finally admit he has been emotionally married to you since 2009? I almost laughed. Almost. Then there was a knock at the door. Soft. Once. Then again. I knew it was him. I waited 3 seconds too long before opening it. Miles stood in the hallway, jacket gone, tie loosened, hair a little messed up like he had been running his hands through it. He looked tired. Not physically. Deeper than that. Can I come in? I stepped back. He walked past me, then stopped near the small desk instead of sitting. Like he did not trust himself to get comfortable. Like the room had rules neither of us understood. I closed the door. The click sounded too loud. For a while, neither of us said anything. Miles stared at the carpet. I stared at his hands. They were flexing at his sides, opening and closing once, then stilling. I cannot do this anymore, he said. My chest tightened. Do what? He looked up. Pretend I did not almost kiss you last night. The room went completely quiet. My breath caught so hard it hurt. Miles swallowed, then kept going before he could lose his nerve. Pretend I was joking in the car. Pretend it did not bother me when Grant said people used to think we were together. Pretend I was fine watching you look at me like you wanted to run. I leaned back against the door because my knees felt unreliable. I was not running from you. His mouth pulled into something sad. Yeah, you were. I wanted to argue. I could not. He took one careful step closer. Not enough to trap me. Just enough to make the air change. And maybe I was too. My throat felt dry. Lauren. He blinked, confused for half a second. Then his face softened. Evan. You looked comfortable with her. I was trying to look normal. That landed hard. Too hard. Miles looked down, laughing once under his breath with no humor in it. That sounds terrible, does it not? I did not answer. He rubbed his thumb over his knuckles, nervous in a way I barely recognized. She is nice. That is all. I was not thinking about her. His eyes came back to mine. I was thinking about you. The whole time. My hand tightened around the door handle behind me. Do not say that unless you mean it. I do mean it. No hesitation. No smile. Just him. That is the problem. Something in me cracked open, small but real. I have spent years trying not to mean it. Miles went still. I had not planned to say that. The words just slipped out, tired of being locked up. His face changed slowly, like he was afraid to move too fast around them. Years? I looked away. Do not make me repeat it. Okay. His voice was barely above a whisper. I will not. Silence stretched. Not empty. Full. My pulse was everywhere. In my throat. My hands. The space between us. Miles stepped closer again, and this time I did not back up. I thought I was losing my mind, he admitted. Every time I wanted to touch your hand. Every time someone joked about us. Every time you looked away like you knew something I did not. I did know. My voice shook. I knew I liked you. I just thought that was my problem. His eyes softened so much it almost hurt. It was not just yours. Neither of us moved for a second. Then Miles held out his hand. Not dramatic. Not smooth. His palm just opened between us, a little uncertain. A choice. I looked at it, then at him. If we do this and it ruins us, then we go slow, he cut in gently. We do not rush. We do not announce it in a ballroom full of people who peaked in high school. A laugh broke out of me before I could stop it. Miles smiled then, small and relieved, like the sound had saved something. I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and careful. Not too tight. Just enough to say he was there. Just enough to say he was not taking it back. The room stayed quiet, but the silence felt different now. Less like fear. More like standing at the edge of something and finally admitting there was no normal to go back to. Miles looked at our hands, then back at me. I was not joking, he said. About the pact? His thumb brushed once over mine. About any of it. We stood there holding hands for what felt like a long time. Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe a whole year, if you count all the years it took us to get there. Miles looked nervous after he said it, like the truth had left him without armor. I probably looked worse. My heart was still beating too fast, and my hand felt too aware of his. Warm palm. Careful fingers. The kind of touch that was small enough to explain away and too honest to survive being explained. So, I breathed, because apparently that was all my brain had left. Miles gave a quiet laugh. Yeah. Great conversation. Very mature. Neither of us let go. That was the first answer. Not the perfect one. Not the movie one. Just his hand staying in mine, and mine staying right back. Eventually, we sat on the edge of one of the beds, shoulder to shoulder, still holding on like we were afraid the room might reset if we stopped. We talked. Not in some huge dramatic way. More like two people finding the lights in a house they had lived in their whole lives, but never really seen. Miles told me he started noticing me differently sometime after high school, then panicked because I was Evan. His Evan. The one person he could not risk making weird. I told him I had used that same excuse so many times it stopped sounding like an excuse and started sounding like a punishment. He looked down at our hands when I said that. I hate that you were alone with it. I was not exactly taking applications for emotional support. Still, his thumb moved over mine once. I wish I had known. I looked at him then. Would you have done anything? Miles thought about it. Really thought. Probably something stupid. I laughed. So nothing has changed. Excuse me. I am very emotionally evolved now. You ate gas station nachos for breakfast yesterday. Growth is not linear. That got me. I laughed harder than I expected, and Miles smiled like he had been waiting all night for my face to do that. The next morning, nothing outside had changed. Same hotel hallway. Same wedding people hung over in wrinkled dress shirts. Same Grant by the coffee station, loudly complaining that the eggs tasted like carpet. But everything inside me felt rearranged. Miles walked beside me to breakfast. Not touching at first. Just close. Our shoulders brushed near the elevator. He glanced down at my hand. I glanced at his. It was ridiculous how scary it felt in a hallway with ugly wallpaper and a vending machine that only took quarters. Then Miles reached over and linked his fingers with mine. No big speech. No warning. Just a choice. My stomach dropped, but this time I did not pull away. Grant saw us first. Of course he did. His eyebrows shot up over his coffee cup. For 1 second, I braced myself. Miles's hand tightened slightly around mine. Not hiding. Not daring anyone. Just there. Grant slowly pointed between us. Finally, I felt heat climb up my neck. Miles looked at him deadpan. Good morning to you too. Grant grinned like he had won a bet with the universe. No, this is great. Horrifying that I was right, but great. I should have been embarrassed. I was a little. But mostly, I felt Miles's thumb against the side of my hand and realized the world had not ended. Nobody yelled. Nobody vanished. Breakfast kept happening. Coffee poured. Someone dropped a fork. Life stayed ordinary, which somehow made it feel more real. The drive home was quieter than the drive there, but not in a bad way. We stopped at the same dumb gas stations. Bought terrible coffee. Argued about playlists. Somewhere in Kansas, Miles put his hoodie in my lap again. This time I put it on. He noticed. His smile was small enough that anyone else might have missed it. I did not. A few miles later, his hand rested near the center console. Close to mine. Waiting. I looked at it, then at him. You are being obvious. I am being patient. Since when? Since I became emotionally evolved. I rolled my eyes and took his hand anyway. The highway stretched out ahead of us, flat and gold under the afternoon sun. Nothing magical happened. No perfect soundtrack. No giant confession written across the sky. Just Miles driving with one hand and holding mine with the other, like it was something we had always been heading toward. Looking back, I do not think we fell in love on that road trip. That would be too simple. I think we finally stopped pretending we had not been loving each other in quiet, stupid, careful ways for years. And once we stopped pretending, going back to normal did not feel possible anymore. The strange part was, I did not miss normal at all.